Before modern Nigeria, there was a city carved in Defiance, a Yoruba city on the front lines, standing between the Fulani Empire and the rest of Yorubaland. In 1844, Ogbomosho stood alone, surrounded by Fulani cavalry, betrayed by Ibadan, and abandoned by the allies it once bled for. It faced a siege that lasted 4 brutal weeks. No food, no mercy, no reinforcements. This is the story of the Asafeje War, a forgotten battle where Yoruba warriors sharpened blades in torchlight and chose death over surrender. A war Fulani historians rarely mention, a betrayal that Yorubaland never forgot, and a resistance that refused to be erased. Ogbomosho, in what we now call southwestern Nigeria, was a fortress, a haven for those fleeing the Oyo Empire's ruin. By the early 1800s, Oyo, once the unchallenged hammer of Yorubaland, was crumbling. Rebellious vassals, feuding chiefs, and a weakened Alafin had shattered its iron grip. The empire that once held sway from the Niger River to the Atlantic coast was now a shadow, its authority eroded by internal strife and external threats. As Oyo faltered, a new storm brewed in the north. The Fulani Jihad, sparked by the firebrand reformer Usman Dan Fodio, swept through the Hausa kingdoms like a plague. Kano fell, its walls breached. Zaria lost, its emirs replaced. Katsina fell, its markets silenced. And then came Ilorin, a Yoruba border town under Oyo's rule, transformed into a dagger aimed at the heart of Yorubaland. Ilorin's fall was a tale of ambition and betrayal. Afanja, the Araona Kakanfo, Oyo's greatest general, was a man of towering pride and restless ambition. Seeking to break free from his Alafin's leash, he invited Fulani warriors to aid his rebellion, believing their cavalry would secure his independence. It was a fatal mistake. The Fulani, led by jihadists, turned on him, slitting his throat in the shadows of Ilorin's palace. But we will get into that another day. By the 1820s, Ilorin was an emirate of the Sokoto Caliphate, a stronghold for jihadists driven by a singular vision: to conquer and Islamize every Yoruba town, village, and soul in their path. From Ilorin, relentless raids struck like lightning. Offa burned, its markets reduced to ash. Ikoyi crumbled, its people scattered. Survivors fled south, swelling Ogbomosho's ranks. Farmers laid down hoes to grip spears, hunters turned snipers, their arrows tipped with vengeance. Ogbomosho, a sentinel between Ilorin's ambitions and the Yoruba south, braced for the storm, its earthen walls a defiant stand against the tide of conquest. 4 years earlier at Osogbo, Yoruba unity struck like lightning. Under Alafin Atiba, Ibadan's fierce generals and Ogbomosho's warriors ambushed the Fulani from Ilorin. Spears flew, muskets thundered, and blood soaked the forest floor. Ibadan's night raids crippled Ilorin's cavalry, shattering their dream of a Sokoto empire stretching to the sea. It was a stunning victory, Yoruba swords raised as one. But beneath the triumph, betrayal quietly took root. By 1844, that unity would shatter. From Osogbo, Ibadan rose not just victorious but supreme. A refugee city turned Yorubaland's sword. Iba Oluyole, its war chief, was a storm in human form, his name a tremor in hearts, his mind sharp with dreams of empire. Ogbomosho, fiercely loyal to Oyo's legacy, stood apart. In the Battlegrounds War, a bitter struggle over land and power, during a time when Yorubaland was experiencing deep conflict and no town was left out, Ogbomosho sent warriors to aid Ijaye against Ibadan's might, deeming their cause just. It forged bonds with Iwo, Ejigbo, and Ilobu, towns defiant of Ibadan's rule. To Oluyole, this was treachery, a wound to his pride. Ogbomosho was a frontier fortress, its warriors fierce but few, its leaders ceremonial, not conquest-driven. Yet its location made it vital, a shield standing between Ilorin's ambitions and the Yoruba south, guarding the path to Ibadan, Ife, and beyond. As long as Ogbomosho stood, the Fulani could not pass. In Ilorin, the emir's court still burned with shame from their Osogbo defeat. Balogun Ali, Ilorin's fearsome warlord, paced the palace, his mind fixed on revenge. A veteran of jihad, Ali was no ordinary commander. His cavalry was a storm, his tactics ruthless, his ambition boundless. The Fulani watched, waited, and saw their chance in Yoruba disunity. When Ogbomosho's scouts reported Fulani movements near Offa and Ikoyi, glints of spears in the dawn, hoof prints in the dust, Sound Idowu Balanta Adgan summoned his war council. "They are coming," he declared, his voice steady as iron. "They come not to talk, but to conquer." Messengers raced to Ibadan, carrying a desperate plea. "We bled with you at Osogbo, now we need your spears." In Ibadan's smoky war chambers, the response was cold as stone. "Ogbomosho clings to old Oyo's thrones, not survival," one Balogun scoffed, his voice dripping with disdain. Another whispered, "Let them fall. A weaker Ogbomosho means more for us." Only Toyeje Akani, the Aronika Kanfo and an Ogbomosho native, stood against them. A warrior of towering stature, his loyalty torn between his birthplace and Ibadan's council, Toyeje's voice rose like a storm. "Abandon them," he warned, "and we invite our ruin. If Ogbomosho falls, Ilorin's hooves will trample us next." His words were ignored. Iba Oluyole, still stinging from Ogbomosho's perceived defiance, sent a message to Ilorin's emir. Ibadan would not interfere, so long as its trade routes remained untouched. But he added a warning: "Threaten our interests, and you'll face our wrath." With Ibadan's betrayal sealed, Ogbomosho stood alone. The city became a fortress. Women brewed protective potions, their hands trembling but resolute, chanting prayers to Yemoja for strength. Hunters turned snipers, climbing rooftops with bows and charms, blessed by Ifa priests. Old men sharpened blades for their grandsons, whispering tales of Ogun, the god of war, whose iron spirit would guide them. The Igungun danced not for joy, but to summon courage. Their masks glowing in the firelight, their movements a call to the ancestors. Shrines to Ogun blazed with offerings, yams, palm oil, the blood of roosters sacrificed under moonlight. Saunidowu Balanta Adigan stood before his people, his voice like thunder. "There are no roads behind us, only graves. Ahead lies death or legacy. We choose legacy." Ogbomosho would not kneel. The Fulani struck before dawn, led by Balogun Ali, whose name alone sent shivers through Yoruba villages. His cavalry swept toward the northern gates, horses kicking up dust like smoke from a burning world. To his warriors, Ali was a commander, a lion of jihad. To Ogbomosho, he was the storm itself, his eyes burning with the promise of conquest. The first assault crashed against the city's earthen walls, but Ogbomosho was ready. Horns blared, drums thundered, and warriors met the charge with deadly precision. Arrows flew from rooftops, spears thrust from behind barricades, and the Fulani's first wave faltered, their cries swallowed by the dawn. But Balogun Ali was patient. His weapon was not brute force, it was time. He ordered a blockade surrounding the city, cutting off water and food. "Let hunger do what swords cannot," he said, his voice calm but cruel. The Fulani burned outlying villages, torched fields of yam and millet, and harassed runners carrying pleas for aid. Ogbomosho became an island under siege, and still Ibadan did not come. Days stretched into 4 weeks. Hunger gnawed at the city's heart. Disease crept through the compounds, a silent killer stalking the weak. Mothers clutched starving children, their songs of defiance now whispers, their eyes hollow but unyielding. Yet Ogbomosho held on, fueled by a spirit that refused to break. Women sang war songs to the stars, their voices cracking but unbroken, passing down tales of past victories to keep hope alive. Boys carried stones to rooftops, ready to fight beside their fathers. The memory of Afanja, Ogbomosho's rebellious ancestor, seemed to linger in every heart, urging them to defy the odds. In the darkest hour, hope flickered. A band of young warriors led by a respected warrior named Ogunyemi slipped through the Fulani lines under the cover of night. Ogunyemi, lean and fearless, knew the forests like his own soul. His raiders struck an enemy camp, seizing grain and setting fires that lit the horizon like a second dawn. The victory was small but electric, a spark in the darkness. Songs of Ogunyemi's raids spread through Ogbomosho, rekindling resolve, lifting spirits as children clapped to the rhythm of his name. But the Fulani struck back, their anger a whip across the city. Balogun Ali's forces breached the outer walls, and the fighting spilt into the streets. Roofs burned, blades clashed, and blood soaked the earth. Women fought beside men, wielding machetes with the fury of mothers protecting their own. Then, from the west, a miracle. Toyeje Akani, defying Ibadan's counsel, arrived with a small but seasoned force. "I could not abandon my home," he roared, his warriors charging into the fray like a river breaking a dam. They flanked the Fulani, driving them back in a whirlwind of steel and fire, their war cries shaking the heavens. Ogbomosho survived the day, but the siege dragged on. For 4 agonizing weeks, the city starved, its people clinging to defiance, their bodies frail, but their spirits iron. Then a pattern emerged. At a certain hour, under the moon's pale light, the Fulani raids stopped. Their drums fell silent, their trumpets ceased, and the enemy slept, vulnerable in their tents. Soun Idou Bolanta Adigun called his war council, his eyes burning with resolve. "This is our chance," he said, his voice a beacon in the dark. 4 divisions formed, each led by seasoned warlords. Oyenloye, fierce as dawn's first light, Abeso Risa and Abeso Yeku, whose courage rallied weary hearts. Lalude, Ola and Abanduku, blades forged in past wars, and Lagadu, silent but deadly, his steel speaking louder than words. Their mission, strike from 4 fronts, swift as leopards, supported by Egbo warriors bolstering the fight. Their mission was clear, strike from 4 directions, swift and silent, like the leopard in the night. Under the cloak of darkness, they moved like shadows, knowing every forest path, every sacred grove where spirits whispered. The trees were their allies, the shadows their weapons. They took out the sentinels, their blades flashing in the dark, silent as death itself. Then a sharp call split the night, a signal the Fulani would never forget. From every front, Ogbomosho's warriors surged forward, falling upon the enemy like thunder. Steel met flesh, war cries shattered the silence, and chaos erupted in the Fulani camp. Ogunyemi's arrows found their marks, Adagoke's spear carved through armor, and Saunidawu Bolanta Adagun fought like Ogun himself, his presence a rallying cry. Balogun Ali, caught in the mayhem, slipped away. Wounded in pride but not in flesh, his dreams of conquest crumbling. The Fulani fled, their ranks broken, their banners trampled in the dust. What began as a siege ended in slaughter, the Fulani camp running red with blood. It was not victory, but survival. Rain fell, softening the parched earth, and the Fulani, low on supplies, withdrew, their hooves fading into the distance. Ogbomosho stood bloodied, scarred, but unbroken. The Asafeje War left scars deeper than any blade scars of distrust that would shape Yoruba wars to come. Ibadan's betrayal sent whispers across Yoruba land. If they would abandon Ogbomosho, who else would they forsake? Sambalanta Adigan turned away Ibadan's belated apologies. "Let them keep their iron and their shame," he said, his voice heavy with the weight of survival. Toyeje Akani, the Are Ona Kakanfo who defied his counsel, returned to Ibadan, a hero to some, a traitor to others, his heart torn between loyalty and duty. Balogun Ali limped back to Ilorin, hailed as a warlord who nearly broke Ogbomosho but failed. The Fulani shifted to a war of attrition, harassing traders and villages, exploiting Yoruba disunity, their eyes still fixed on the south. Ogbomosho's stand became a testament to resilience, a forgotten chapter of Africa's military history, etched in the hollow cheeks of survivors and the silence of those who never returned. It was a warning. Unity is strength. and betrayal is a wound that lingers. The city's defiance sent ripples across Yoruba land, its confidence soaring, its will fortified. Today, Ogbomosho's walls are gone, its drums quiet, but its spirit remains. In the soil where warriors fell, in the songs passed down through generations, in every fruit that ripens uneaten by birds. This is just one of Africa's lost wars, a story of valor and sacrifice carved in blood and dust. Subscribe to uncover more tales of courage from Africa's past. What other buried battles deserve light? Drop a name in the comments together, and we'll bring Africa's hidden histories back to life. See you in the next video.